What's up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's tons of news to go over here. Lots of stuff that's being teased with the Tokyo Auto Salon and also the Detroit Auto Show that's coming up here this weekend and early next week. Speaking of the auto show, I will be there in person for all these reveals that are going to be going on at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. This will be, I think, my 4th year going, and so if you've been following along for a couple of years now, you'll know kind of how I cover these events. So early next week, there's going to be a ton of videos, starting with Sunday night. There's probably going to be a ton of stuff from the Ford event with the Bullitt, the Ranger, the Edge ST that I'll talk about here in a minute, and maybe even some other stuff. So those videos will be posted up Sunday night. Then Monday and Tuesday, I'll be just putting out tons of videos, and I'll probably have some that trickle over into Wednesday and Thursday as well. And then Friday's weekly update will probably just be a little bit of a roundup of all my thoughts from Detroit. But obviously, you're going to want to watch all those videos throughout the week for each of the new debuts and in-person close-up look at all of those vehicles. So yeah, and then Friday, next Friday I'll round up all the stuff that I saw and also talk about other stuff that wasn't at Detroit, other automotive news throughout the week. So for those of you that love, hearing about new car debuts, next week there's going to be a ton of videos. I apologize for those of you that don't like being bombarded in your subscription box or notifications, but it's just temporary here for next week at the auto show. So anyway, getting right into the debuts here for next week. The first vehicle is actually from the Tokyo Auto Salon, and it's Subaru is showing off what they're calling the Viziv Performance STI concept, which is basically previewing the next-gen STI. This is great to see for a couple of different reasons. First is the fact that there is going to be a next-gen STI, considering they've been killing it off in Europe and a few other places, and there was some doubt as to whether they're going to continue with an STI model. And this sounds like they are planning on continuing on with one, and this is still based on the Viziv Performance concept, which was the preview for the next-gen WRX, and so this is obviously showing the STI is just going to, again, be a hopped-up version of the WRX, which is awesome. And you can see it's very aggressive looking there. I love the red accents. And then, there's the very aggressive front bumper, and in the back there, you can see a little teaser shot there of the rear spoiler, which in addition to being large, also has some horizontal sections that come out there. So I think it's going to even try and one-up the Civic Type R, if it actually looks like this in production, which again is highly doubtable. I'm sure it's going to be toned down a lot. Just how much remains to be seen. Hopefully they learned their lesson with the last WRX and will continue to hopefully do something that looks more like the concept and less toned down. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Another vehicle that is going to be shown here at the Tokyo Auto Salon that was officially revealed already completely is the Toyota GR Super Sport concept. And this thing looks awesome. And basically, so this is based on the TS050, which is an FIA World Endurance Championship car. So this is supposedly running a twin-turbo V6 with some hybrid tech going on. And they had a heavy emphasis on the powertrain more so than the car. So I don't know if they're hinting that maybe some of these pieces will make its way into the new Supra, or if it's just for some type of future supercar that Toyota wants to build. But they're quoted as saying here, "This is the starting point for Toyota's completely new challenge to develop sports cars from active race cars. Although it will be some time before you all have the opportunity to get behind the wheel, I hope that the GR Super Sport concept will give you a taste of what we aim to achieve with our next generation sports cars." So, great news. Toyota's planning next generation sports cars, and they're going to be based off of race cars. Sounds amazing, and really exciting to hear that Toyota's interested in that stuff at all, and so very exciting to hear that nonetheless. Another very awesome bit of supercar news here is from Hyundai, of all people. So there's a report here that they're, according to The Drive, that they're actually working on a Sirius, is what they called it, sports car they plan to introduce in the next few years. So they're benchmarking this thing against the 911 Turbo and the Lamborghini Huracan. So that's the type of performance I think you can expect from this Hyundai supercar, which is going to be crazy. And they almost have a dream team of sorts working at Hyundai right now. They have BMW M division boss, or former BMW M division boss, Albert Berman. He's working in that N sub-brand, so this might be an N branded vehicle or a halo model for the sub-brand. We'll have to see. But then they have the lead designer, or the guy that was the head of design for the Lamborghini Diablo, Murcielago, and Gallardo. That guy is in charge of design for Hyundai now. So you got him, a guy that has designed Lamborghinis, and then you have a guy that was engineering BMW M stuff. You have those two guys working together on a vehicle that's being benchmarked against the Lamborghini Huracan. Sounds epic. This is going to be really, really promising, hopefully. They didn't say too much about it beyond that, but Hyundai's vice president said, "We cannot say just hybrid, but we will use some electric motor and batteries for high performance. There are some areas we can overcome instead of using big engines, as we would like to minimize as much as possible the use of engines and use as much as possible the electric motors. Then, in many ways, not just for efficiency, but for performance, it can very much be optimized using both powertrains." So definitely it's going to be a hybrid. But, that's not necessarily a bad thing. LaFerrari 918, McLaren P1, all hybrid supercars that are all very impressive. So, they say they want to minimize the use of the gasoline engine, so hopefully that means this is going to have a decent engine. It's not going to be some type of BMW i8 type deal or something like that, but we'll have to wait and see. But they did say that it's going to be a two-seater and that it'll have some type of hybrid powertrain, which again should be kind of expected these days with the way that everything's going. But anyway, very exciting here that Hyundai is working on a supercar, just crazy. So 2018's off to a good start here. Another vehicle, Ford now is going to have several debuts, obviously at the Detroit Auto Show, but they revealed the first one already, and it's the 2019 Ford Edge ST. So basically, this is a refreshed version of the Edge Sport, which has been out for several years now. I already have a review that I filmed of one a couple of years ago already. Very impressive handling SUV already, as far as large SUVs go. So basically this ST version, it gives it this refresh, which all Edges are getting with these new headlights, grille, taillights, all that type of stuff. But then you can see this one has got even more aggressive styling for the ST. With the ST badges, you have those weird exhaust tips, which I don't like. They're almost identical to the ones on the new CTS V Sport that I didn't like as well. And so, but it does look good otherwise. I love that Ford blue as well. But anyway, so the mechanical stuff here, it's got 20 more horsepower than the Sport and 30 more pound-feet of torque. So now the total is 335 horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque. All Edges for 2019 here are also going to get a new 8-speed automatic that is also included here in the ST, and supposedly has pretty quick shifts and is great for manual shifting. We'll have to wait and see. It makes sense, I guess, but I'm just surprised they're bothering with the Edge, considering they already had the Sport model, and I guess this is an easy way to make an ST product by, just doing a refresh and a couple extra horsepower. But, it would have been nice to see, if you're going to do some type of performance SUV, do the Escape, which everyone buys. The Escape sells way more than the Edge. And so it's just kind of strange that, the Edge, I think, only sells slightly more than the Mustang. So that's how low the numbers are for an SUV, which is kind of shocking. And so for the fact that they're doing an ST version of that instead of ST versions of the other stuff, even the Fusion would be nice. So anyway, but hey, more performance models, the better, right? So cool to see that. Another interesting thing is Volkswagen's revealed the 2018 Passat GT they're going to be showing at Detroit. And this is a production version now. There was a concept version they revealed, I think, last year or the year before. That was just kind of like, hey, would you guys be interested in this? And now, obviously, people love the idea, so they're building it. This is going to be limited production, although they didn't say how limited it's going to be. But basically, it's got the same 280 horsepower VR6, which is a great motor, so not a huge complaint there. But it's not very different from a standard, Passat with this VR6. You got a sports suspension, the special wheels, the red accents, which are cool, kind of give it a GTI flair. And then, there's a unique bits of the front bumper, and then there's a rear deck lid spoiler, two-tone leatherette inside. It's a nice improvement. For an enthusiast that needs to buy a Passat, this is definitely the way to go, but not sure how sporty that suspension setup is going to be. Anyway, this is going to be on dealership lots in the middle of this year, and it's going to be starting at $29,940, which is actually a very competitive price. $30,000 is the same as you pay for a mid-grade GTI these days. So to get more horsepower, a larger car for the same money is a pretty good value. So anyway, cool to see that. Another mid-size sedan is the Mazda6. Now, this hasn't officially been revealed, but the NHTSA site someone discovered is showing a 2018 Mazda 6 with all-wheel drive. Now, we know that Mazda wanted to do all-wheel drive in the Mazda 6 to appeal to everyone on the East Coast that, almost exclusively buys all-wheel drive for their luxury and, entry-level luxury vehicles. That's what Mazda's going for here with the new Mazda 6. But anyway, so now the fact that it's listed on this site and it's a 2018 model, unless it's some type of error, this means that there is an all-wheel drive version of the Mazda 6 coming very soon. Not sure what motor that would be paired up with. It'd be awesome with the 2.5-liter turbo, but most likely probably just for the standard motor. But anyway, interesting interesting to see that, and we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll have some kind of surprise unveiling at Detroit or something like that, although they don't have a press conference scheduled. But we'll just have to wait and see. Other Mazda and Toyota news is they announced officially they're building a new plant in Alabama that's going to cost $1.6 billion and employ 4,000 people there in Alabama, which is great. Toyota's going to be building the Corolla there, and then Mazda's going to be building some type of crossovers. They didn't say which ones. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Other news from Toyota at the Consumer Electronics Show, which is going on this past week, Toyota announced that they're going to be having Amazon Alexa integration in future Toyotas and Lexuses. Some 2018 models, they said, and then most 2019 models, I think. So, but it's kind of funny. They're like, ooh, we have Amazon Alexa, which is nice, but they still don't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is like in most cars these days, and it's something that is a sore exclusion from Toyotas and Lexuses. Everyone else has hopped on the bandwagon. They should too. Everyone's agreed that it's a really great technology, and so this still just kind of is like, okay, great. So you have Amazon Alexa, but you're not listening to all your consumers that say they want Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So just kind of strange, but hey, at least they have some type of advancement here for their infotainment system. Ford, on the other hand, does listen to their consumers, it seems, because they announced at Consumer Electronics Show that they're going to be integrating Waze as one of the applications that works with Sync 3. So there's going to be an update for all Sync 3 systems. So in the Mustangs, that's from 2016 and on. So my current Mustang and on 2018 models, I believe, and all 2019 models will have this Sync 3, but it's just a software update. It's version 3.0, and so you'll have Waze built in. Now, this isn't news for anyone that has an Android phone because you already have Waze enabled with Android Auto, but for those with CarPlay, Apple has stubbornly done an Apple type of thing where they block out any navigation software other than their Maps software. So this is a workaround. Instead of waiting for Apple and CarPlay to allow Waze, Ford's like, we'll just add it to our apps. So instead of it being within CarPlay itself, it'll now just be one of the apps built in, kind of like Spotify and a few of the others, that's built in there in the Ford head unit itself. You still have to use your phone for it, and you plug your phone in or whatever, but it allows you to have Waze, which is great news for someone like me. I'd love to use Waze, but since I have an Apple product, it's not compatible, and so now to be able to do Waze and have it on the infotainment screen is going to be really great. They didn't give any announcement as to when exactly it's going to be available, but hopefully it'll be available soon, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. But anyway, exciting to hear that. Mini this past week has revealed the refreshed 2019 Cooper and Cooper S that they're going to be going on sale here very soon. They'll be showing it at Detroit as well. And so you can basically see it's just got lightly restyled headlights that now have a full LED ring there. And then taillights that now have the Union Jack flag there in the taillight, and that's what illuminates. And it's a very unique thing, maybe a little over-the-top British, but I think that's the thing about Minis. They're quirky and over-the-top, and I think that's what makes them fun. So I think this is actually really cool. There's also some new colors, Emerald Gray, Starlight Blue, and Solaris Orange. They also have updated the infotainment system. So now there's a standard 6.5-inch infotainment in the center there, so I don't think there's any way to get a speedometer in the center anymore, which is kind of a shame, but that's infotainment system standard. And now there's also an optional 8.8-inch touchscreen display, which is a big deal considering it's BMW product to offer a touchscreen. Get rid of that little knob is really exciting for me personally. I think that's going to be great, and 8.8 inches is pretty large too, so awesome to see that. Honda's going to be showing the new Insight prototype, but it's basically the production version at Detroit, and that's going to be their big reveal, I assume, unless there's something else. But anyway, they revealed a few more details about it. We still don't have everything, so they're still going to have to wait for the actual show for all the details on it here. But this new Insight is basically just going to slot above the Civic, but below the Accord in a way, and just be mostly electric. That's kind of what they're going for. I guess they didn't want to do a Civic hybrid, so they're doing this instead. But you can see it's now they revealed it has a 7-inch driver's meter, which I think is pretty similar to the display in the Accord for the half digital gauges those have on these new Accords. And there's also going to be an 8-inch touchscreen, which is very similar to what you see in all the other new Honda products. But anyway, as far as mechanical stuff, they did give us a little more info. It's going to be running a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, but if that sounds slow to you, that's because it's only a generator for the electric motor and battery pack. They didn't say how large or powerful any of that was, but They did say it's going to run primarily on electricity, and that motor is only going to come on to regenerate more electricity. So basically, they're going for a volt type deal, I think, with this vehicle, and that's kind of what they're going for here. But good to at least have a gasoline engine so that your range isn't limited by your charge time and battery. But anyway, interesting to see that, and we'll have to hear more, as the details come out over the next few days. Kia has revealed what they're going to be showing at Detroit, and it's the new 2019 Forte, which we have 3 sketch images here just to tease us before the actual reveal. But these sketches look really good. If it looks half that good in the metal, it's going to be a really stunning looking car. Kia is really on a roll, I think, with beautiful designs. And yeah, that Forte looks fantastic. So we'll have to be excited to see how that looks in person here in a few days. Switching back to some consumer electronics show news, Kia revealed in other Kia news the Niro EV, which I mentioned last week. They had a couple of teasers. Now we have more info on it here. It's got 238 miles of range, which is the exact same as the Bolt. So there is squarely aimed at the Chevy Bolt with this vehicle. 64 kilowatt hour battery, 201 horsepower, basically the same as the Bolt as well. And again, this is just a concept, but chances are it's based on the Ioniq EV, so it's very easy to make into a production version. It might not look quite that extreme, but very easy to see that coming to market, very soon. Other things that Kia announced at CES was that by 2025, they plan to have 16 electrified vehicles. 5 of those will be new hybrids, 5 will be plug-in hybrids, and there's going to be 1 fuel cell electric vehicle that's going to be coming in 2020. They also showed off this new dual zone audio, which is just a concept. Not sure when this is going to make it to production or if it ever will. But basically, there's speakers in the headrest, and they combine that with active noise cancellation to enable front and rear seat passengers to listen to 2 different things without having to wear headphones and without disturbing the other zone. I'm not sure. That sounds really hard to actually do, not to mention being slightly dangerous if the active noise canceling is loud enough to cancel out the music in the person in front of you. But interesting to see that, and we'll have to wait and see if that ever makes it a production. Could be a lifesaver though for those that argue over what to listen to in the car with kids or whatever. You could have the best of both worlds if it works as well as advertised and is safe. But, I mentioned the fuel cell electric that Kia is planning. Speaking of the fuel cells, though, Hyundai has revealed the Nexo SUV at CES. And this runs on hydrogen fuel cell. And so they announced some of the details on it here. It's got 291 pound-feet of torque. It's ready to go 30 seconds after charging, which is much quicker than previous hydrogen vehicles where you had to wait like a minute and a half before it was actually ready to start going. 0 to 60, they say, is 9.9 seconds, so it's a lot quicker than a lot of other hydrogen vehicles. And it has a 42-gallon hydrogen tank, which can store up to 350 miles of range and can be refilled in 5 minutes. And that's the big news there, because unlike all these other electric vehicles, where it just takes 30 minutes to recharge, and even with some of this newer, better battery technology, they're bragging about like 15 minutes recharge, which isn't the end of the world. But if you can, the technology's already here. Instead of trying to develop these new batteries, instead of worrying about placing a burden on the grid, you just have hydrogen, which is much more plentiful and easier to get, and it refills way quicker. 5 minutes, you got 350 miles, then you're on your way. And this is already in a production vehicle that's on the road. And so they're testing them. I don't know how widespread they're going to be available, but they're going to, slowly roll them out. I mean, hydrogen stations are still very rare, which is the only downside to it. But I really think that hydrogen promises a better and more sustainable, clean future than the electric stuff, in my opinion. But I know the electric stuff's what everyone's all hyped about, thanks to Tesla and whatnot. But we'll have to wait and see what wins out. But I think that's a very, very intriguing idea there. And so anyway, interesting to see that. Speaking of those electric vehicles, though, Fisker has shown off their EMotion EV, and it has a flexible solid-state battery, which is the big news here with it, if it actually does come to production and do what they're saying it's going to do. You can see it's very dramatic looking. It's got these butterfly doors, but the front end looks kind of weird. It almost looks like kind of squished in, like it's been, it's like hit a wall or something. The rear looks good, though. It looks similar to the Aston Martin Vantage, and Fisker, he actually is the guy, I think, that designed a lot of the Aston Martins. I think the DB9 and a couple of other beautiful vehicles. So he knows how to design a beautiful car, just not sure about that front end. But anyway, he's claiming over 400 miles of range from a 143 kilowatt hour battery, which is a really large. And he says he can recharge 125 miles in 9 minutes. Still slower than a full 350 recharge from that hydrogen. Like I said, this is my point exactly. 125 miles in 9 minutes, but that's quicker than what you get with Teslas and other vehicles like that. So it's an improvement. Again, if he actually can deliver as promised. It also supposedly has level 4 autonomous capabilities, so it'll drive itself in a lot of situations. He's expecting production to start in 2019, and the starting price is going to be $129,000. So, as expensive as the top-of-the-line Tesla, but you do get more range, supposedly, if it actually, like I said, does do that range. Another electric vehicle that was revealed at CES was the Byton Concept SUV, and I talked briefly about it last week with a couple of teaser images. Now we have all the official images here of what it looks like. Kind of looks like a Mitsubishi to me, like that new Eclipse Cross or whatever, but does look good. This is supposedly arriving in the United States and Europe in 2020. It'll show up in China first in 2019. It is a Chinese-built and Chinese company, this Byton. And anyway, they're going to be having a rear-wheel drive model with a 71 kilowatt-hour battery that can do 248.5 miles of range, eking out every tenth of a mile they can get. 268 horsepower is what you get with that one, and 295 pound-feet of torque. There's also going to be an all-wheel drive version, which has a 95 kilowatt-hour battery for 323 miles of range, supposedly, and that one does 469 horsepower and 523 foot-pounds of torque with that additional motor in the front. So this has a lot of interesting infotainment tech and stuff, and that's kind of one of the main focuses of this vehicle. It's got face recognition software to unlock the car and sync up all your settings and stuff. Whenever you hop in, it'll know who you are, which is something that a lot of companies have been kind of teasing and envisioning for a while, and so they're supposedly saying that it works in their vehicle. There's also this shared experience display, which has, I think is like 48 inches wide. It's just a massive display, and allows video watching and even video conferencing whenever the car is driving itself in its level 4 autonomous mode that it supposedly has. Again, this sounds pretty ambitious for 2020, considering Volvo and all those others have pushed back their development until 2021 for when they want to start testing more of this stuff. So I take all this with a little bit of a grain of salt. Everyone likes to talk up all this stuff, and we'll have to see if it actually comes to fruition. But anyway, it's going to have to be real good autonomous tech in order to be video conferencing and video chatting, because level 4 still requires you to take over at times. So not sure how safe that is. But anyway, there's also a tablet in the steering wheel for the driver. Not sure how that works with an airbag. We'll have to wait and see. There's also LED lights that'll display different things for pedestrians and other drivers, which could get ugly fast as well with road rage situations. But yeah, supposedly this is pretty close to production, though, so we'll have to see how much of this actually does come to production. They're saying it's also going to start at only $45,000 for that base model there, and there's also going to be a sedan that comes in 2021 and a minivan in 2022, all based on this same platform. So very intriguing, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this all pans out. They don't have a dealership network here or anything, so how successful this is remains to be seen. Speaking of electric stuff, though, Aston Martin has hinted this past week that they're also interested in doing an electric supercar. So the CEO, Andy Palmer, he talked with Auto Express and said that they're considering a car smaller than the Vantage but faster and more expensive than the Vantage. And he said, according to Andy Palmer, this is what he said, the interesting thing is that the other three components of any electric car, weight, aerodynamic drag, and rolling resistance, are areas that sports car manufacturers, and us in particular, are good at mastering. That puts us at an advantage over the other brands who are making some big claims, such as Tesla, shade, with a lightweight roadster. I think we could be in that space relatively easily. So it sounds like he's like, yeah, we could do a Tesla Roadster and do it better than Tesla. Which we'll have to wait and see. Again, Tesla also likes to make big claims. We'll have to wait and see. That someone was talking, I think it was Engineering Explained, was mentioning that just in order to do the type of battery pack that they're explaining, it would be a really heavy car for that Tesla Roadster. So if you can make an actual lightweight version that handles halfway decently with an Aston Martin badge, that could, be very competitive if they can keep the price down. But we know that Aston Martin's already planning on doing some hybrid stuff. They actually plan, they said by the mid-2020s to have their entire range range be electrified in some way. Now, I don't think that's going to be super hybrid heavy stuff. I think they're saying it's mostly going to be the 48 volt technology, which is like for coasting and rolling electric stuff. And then whenever you actually get up and go, it's going to kick on those wonderful gasoline engines that they have. But speaking of those engines, they also said that there's a possibility there could be 6-cylinder Aston Martins in the future, he said, but never anything smaller than a 6-cylinder is what he's saying. So sounds like they're still going to, stick to old-fashioned, enjoyable enthusiast stuff. But anyway, interesting to see all that. Back to some of the Detroit news. Another vehicle that Ford has officially announced ahead of time before the Detroit Auto Show that they're going to be showing off is the 2018 F-150 diesel. And basically, they just revealed the specifications for it. I think we'd already seen it. But basically, it uses a 3-liter turbo diesel V6 that does 250 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. They're aiming for 30 mpg on the highway, but that hasn't been officially confirmed yet. We'll use 10-speed auto, too, just like all the other F-150s here. They're saying it's going to be able to tow 11,400 pounds and a payload of 2,020 pounds, which I think they say is best in class for those numbers. And interestingly, though, I guess they must still have some type of working arrangement with Jaguar and Land Rover, even though they don't own Jaguar Land Rover anymore, because apparently, according to Autoblog, that 3-liter diesel is actually from Jaguar and Land Rover. It's the same 3-liter diesel V6 that you get in the Land Rover and Jaguar products, but it's been changed heavily here for Ford's application. They say that it has a new turbo, different injection system, and beefed up internals in various places. But it's basically, that's why it has very similar output numbers to that Jaguar diesel motor. It's kind of interesting there, but anyway, the ordering is going to actually open up for these diesel F-150s this month, and deliveries are going to actually be starting in the spring. So a very quick rollout for that. And so interesting to see that. Other Ford news, I know it's like 99% sure, and now all the other media publications are agreeing that it's likely that a Bullitt Mustang will be revealed at Detroit this weekend. We still don't have any official teaser confirming that or anything, but I'm 99% sure it's going to be revealed there. And we have more confirmation that a Bullitt is arriving from Ford, and that actually comes thanks to Barrett-Jackson. So the Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale auction, which I went to last year, they're going to be having an auction on this coming Friday night, January 19th, and it's going to be for, it was just a blank listing. It shows like a 1968 Mustang, looks like the Bullitt one, just like as a filler image, but the description is what's interesting, because the description says there's going to be a special new Ford Mustang auctioned off for charity, and Ford actually redacted, or Barrett-Jackson did, what charity it goes to, but before the page was modified, it showed that the charity that it's going to is the Boys Republic. Anyone that knows about Steve McQueen's life knows that he went to the Boys Republic as a youth, and then as he actually gained all of his fame, he was continuing to support the Boys Republic, and it's a charity that the McQueen family still supports to this day and is very involved with. So the benefits are going to Boys Republic, which means it has to be the Bullitt. So chances are the first production Bullitt is what is going to be auctioned off here January 19th, and so exciting to see how much that goes for, and hopefully it's not too rare of a model that, there'll be plenty of them out there. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Other Mustang news, though, is actually thanks to Mustang 6G, we know there's going to be a new color for 2019 Mustangs, and it's going to be called Spinel Green. It's going to be replacing yellow, actually, the triple tricoat yellow or whatever it's called. And so yellow is going away for 2019, so if you want a yellow Mustang, hurry up and buy a 2018 or older Mustang, but then this green's going to replace it. And as you can see, it looks a little more green than like grabber green, but not quite as bright as the Gotta Have It green. But for those of you that like bright colors on your Mustangs, here's another great choice here, starting for the 2019 model year, which you'll be able to start ordering by mid-March. Those will be delivered, I think, in the middle of the summer. But cool to see that. Toyota has teased their Detroit debut. We already had one teaser a couple of weeks ago for the new Avalon they're showing at Detroit. Now we have another teaser showing its sequential taillight, which actually illuminates from outward. So it goes from the inside out, which is backwards from what you see with most of the others, although Ford's also does go from the inside out, but a lot of the others, like the Audis and stuff, are going outside in. So anyway, cool to see that's good as a sequential taillight, though I think that's a really cool look for a lot of vehicles. And so anyway, we'll see that reveal on Monday in Detroit. Back to some final consumer electronics show news here. Mercedes showed off a new infotainment system that they're going to be incorporating first in the A-Class, and then it's going to trickle down to some other vehicles. And so this is going to be this new system. It's, I think, called M-Bucks is what they're calling it, but basically it's got the AI tech so that it'll suggest frequent routes automatically, do things like that, which isn't groundbreaking, but the big news here is it's touchscreen. Finally, they're finally putting a touchscreen in a Mercedes, and slowly getting rid of the little spin wheel, which I know some people love, some people hate, but so it's again gonna be a gradual rollout, so I'm sure the larger models will continue on with the little rotary dial there for a while, but hopefully eventually they'll all be touchscreen and join the rest of the other futuristic infotainment systems. Another cool thing though with this new infotainment system is it's going to be using this What 3 Words software, which is this new thing that I had never heard about till this past week, where it uses 3 words instead of an address to find a location. And so this company supposedly has divided the entire world into 57 trillion different 3 meter by 3 meter squares. So you can tell it exactly within a 3 meter by 3 meter space where you want the car to go, and this would also work for drone deliveries and all that type of stuff, but it's just 3 words, and so it's a unique 3 words, and it's just normal words. It's like Castle Pizza Valley, and that's an address to something, which makes a lot of sense considering postal codes don't apply to areas where there isn't a house or business or something. So it could be cool for those that love the outdoorsy type of stuff and want to figure out how to get there. And anyway, interesting to see that. Other Mercedes news, just some spy photos, getting into some other vehicles that were spied this past week. First is the new Mercedes GLB was spied, which is going to be a crossover. It's not officially called the GLB, we just are assuming that's what it'll be called, because they say it's going to slot above the GLA, but beneath the GLC, and be maybe slightly smaller than the GLC. But anyway, you can see it's very boxy in its look, and so I think this is kind of harkening back to the GLK, which was really a lot of people like the design of the boxy GLKs of the past, and also everyone loves the G-Wagons these days, and so to make a baby more affordable G-Wagon sounds like something that would print money for Mercedes. So I think that's kind of what they're going to be going for here, although it doesn't look like it's going to have round headlights, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a G-Wagon ripoff. You can see there from the spy photos, whatever headlights it has working for it there are horizontal in nature. But yeah, they also, according to autobuild.de, they say it's going to be based on the front-wheel drive MFA platform, which is going to underpin all the new A-Class models, the GLA, the A-Class, and I guess the CLA. And so I guess it's going to be based on that, so not on the full-on platform you get with the C-Class and the GLC. But anyway, not sure when that's coming out, but interesting to see Mercedes working on that. Another very exciting spy shot here was Cadillac was spy testing the 2020 CT5, which has been talked about for a good while now. We only have 3 pictures of it, and it has this odd hood scoop that they kind of incorporated into the camo, I believe just to throw people off. I don't think a Cadillac luxury car would have a hood scoop, so we'll just have to wait and see on that. But anyway, this is the vehicle that's supposed to replace the ATS, CTS, and XTS, and so as you can see, the size looks similar to a CTS, so you have that fastback roofline though, which is definitely different from the CTS. And you can see it's got some headlights that are horizontal in the grille that looks similar to the Escala concept. I'm sure it'll be toned down a lot from that, but I think that's kind of the idea we should be expecting for this new Cadillac. But yeah, I mean, it's still a little ways off, but very exciting to finally see this new Cadillac sedan and see that they are developing it, in fact. Another GM news story here is the mid-engine Corvette was spied yet again. And it probably won't be shown in Detroit. I know everyone's hoping for that in the GT500, and probably both aren't showing up, but they've surprised us in the past. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, from these new spy shots, the main things you can see here that are new are that it looks like it's going to have a Targa roof, much like the C7, that can be removed, and so that will be pretty cool. Also, it looks like it's got some rounded square exhaust tips that look more production ready than the crude exhaust tips we've seen on prototypes in the past. Looks like it might have some air intakes in the side there. You can kind of see peeking out from the camo, and that's about it. But again, I have no clue when this thing's going to finally be showing up. Maybe Chevy and Ford are planning to duke it out at New York, maybe with a GT500 and mid-engine Corvette reveal then. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see that. Also, the BMW 8 Series was spied this past week in convertible form, which, looks pretty mild, similar to a 6 Series in a lot of ways from what you can see in the camo. But thankfully, someone over at Bimmer Post leaked out 2 images of one completely uncamouflaged, production ready, it looks like, and those pictures were found on Jalopnik there. And so it looks like it's going to be ready for a Geneva reveal, most likely, in end of February, early March. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good from those 2 leaked images there. The front looks stunning. The back end looks a little strange. It almost looks like it's been rear-ended, like it's got a flat back end with no curves whatsoever. So I'm not sure if that's just the picture angle or what. So hopefully the back end looks a little bit better whenever we get some better pictures of it there. But anyway, very interesting to see that spied there. That's pretty crazy. The last vehicle that was spied this past week was the Audi Q8 was spied for the first time with basically no camouflage on it. And you can see it's going to look pretty good and pretty, what you would expect from a vehicle of this type. The side profile, though, looks almost identical to the Bentayga with the way that it kicks up towards the rear there. I thought that was going to be a signature Bentley trait, and so for this Audi to have it's kind of surprising, honestly, but it does look very good otherwise. Now, I mean, I think this is going to be, it's based on the same platform as the Bentayga, so that certainly makes sense. I think it's also based on the same platform as the Q7, which is also the platform of the Urus, by the way. So we'll have to wait and see, what motors they put in this and whatnot. But anyway, the production for that is supposed to start at some point this year. So should be seeing a full reveal of that, relatively soon. Again, could be Geneva or sometime later on this year. But anyway, interesting to see that. And that's it for all the news this week, guys. Sorry it's a long one. Like I said, get ready for all the videos, early next week here from the Detroit Auto Show. It should be a great time. Should be a lot of great reveals. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts about everything in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.